Well, very good day to you, to the next in the series that is being jointly done between the Harry Edwards Healing Sanctuary and Healing in America on the language of disease. My name is Alison McQuinney, and I am from the Harry Edwards Healing Sanctuary in Sheer, Surrey, England. And I'd like to give a very warm welcome to our speaker this evening, Kim Vincent from Healing in America. So over to you now, Kim.
Thank you so much, Alison. Thank you. Well, I really want to thank all of you for being here this evening or this morning, or wherever you are. Alison and I were just talking that it was a year ago that we were at the Harry Edwards Healing Sanctuary in England, which was incredible. It really was. And I'm hearing all of the wonderful things that are happening there. So I really want to thank you. It was a year ago we started doing these as well. So it's been absolutely wonderful and such a privilege to be here and to share this time with all of you. We thought that the language of disease might be a good topic for us all to dive into, both for our own healing and awareness, and also how can we help our clients to heal more and to use their language with more wisdom in their healing journey. Because when we think about language, language describes our reality, both internal and external, and our reality is created through the language that we use. So we'll be exploring this on many levels today. We'll be exploring the sayings that we use without even thinking about them. We'll be exploring what is a thought virus, and how do they get implanted, and how do they affect us, and how can we, or infect us, actually, I should say, and how can we work to overcome them for our own health and our own well-being. We will also be looking at ways in which we can communicate with the body, ways in which the body is actually communicating, because when our bodies go out of balance and there's illness occurs, there's usually a message or a signal that we're not paying attention to, in my experience. Sometimes there are karmic imprints that come into it, but a lot of times, even those, the body is signaling that something needs healing, something needs releasing, or something needs to have some attention. So how can we use that as well as our own healing light? And, as healers, we connect to, divine source, and we are channels for that energy, which can be used for ourselves as well as others. And I think that's really important. So let's start with an opening meditation. So we open up and get ready to receive healing in whatever level we might need it. So I'm going to ask you to start by just taking in a really deep breath, and just for a moment, let your eyes close. Feel your feet on the floor, and just imagine roots coming out through the soles of your feet, going down through the layers of the earth, all the way down to the very center, to the pulsing heart of Mother Earth. And just imagine those roots wrapping around that, really connecting you with our beautiful planet. And then be aware of that divine light, however you perceive that, whether it's the light of God or universal light. Just allow that energy now to flow down like a showering of light, washes through your auric field, through your physical body, allowing you to release and let go that which you need to let go of now. Just let it wash down through those roots and into the earth, where the energy is transmuted. And be aware of that light as it shines brighter. And just opening our energy centers, beginning with the crown, like the flowers of a lotus flower unfolding. Just open that energy center. Breathe in the light. Feel that center coming into a level of balance and attunement. And then letting the light flow down into the third eye, opening and expanding the third eye, clearing and attuning us so that we may listen clearly, we may see our own wisdom, our own guidance, and really have the strength to follow that. And then the light continues to flow down now to the throat chakra. And just opening and expanding the throat as you breathe the light into this center, clearing and attuning this center to those higher frequencies of light. And here is where we speak our truth, really stepping into that wisdom, into that power. And then the light flows down and into the heart center. Let your hearts open. Let your hearts expand. Breathe in the light of unconditional love, allowing it to flow there for you and to flow out and love others unconditionally also. Then letting that light continue to flow down, opening the solar plexus, feeling that balance and attunement. And then the sacral chakra, breathing the light into this center as it opens and expands. Power of your own creativity, your own light. And then we flow down to the base chakra, just opening the base chakra. So all of your energy centers are now opened and aligning, coming into the fullness of balance and healing for you. And then letting that light flow through you. And let's just take a moment to see ourselves in a circle of light, and let us send unconditional love to all beings to the right of us. And let us send unconditional love to all beings to the left of us. Let us send unconditional love to all beings behind us. And let us send unconditional love to all beings before us. Let us send unconditional love to all beings beneath us, and unconditional love to all beings above us, creating a bubble of unconditional love for each one of us as we connect as a wheel of light, bringing healing, bringing balance, bringing your gifts, the higher service into this plane now. Taking in a breath. Feel yourself centered in your own light, filled with love, and then gently bring your awareness back. That's better. You know, when we come together like this as healers, it is such an honor and such a blessing to bring this light and connect together. Because when we come together like this, we amplify not only our own light, but the light that we bring to the planet. And through these times right now, it's really needed. So, I had some early experiences with the language of disease and the language of illness. And I wanted to start by talking about some of my very first clients that came to me for healing. One of them was a lady who she was irritated with everybody and everything. Everything was an irritation to her. She was irritated by her neighbors. She was irritated by her family. She was irritated with the place that she lived. She was irritated with just about everything. I think she had a cat that she wasn't irritated with, but that was about it. And she was suffering from weeping eczema. When you think about that, you think about the symptoms of weeping eczema, there was a lot of irritation. Now, I think what comes first, is it that we become irritated and then the body speaks the mind? Or is it that through our irritation, the body expresses it? Because I think one of the things we need to be aware of is that our subconscious minds are listening to everything we say, both internally, so things we say to ourselves, and externally. So obviously my work was cut out for me with that particular client. And we did some work on healing her irritation, and her body started to heal. So I think very often we can be faced with emotional issues or people with emotional scarring that then develop physical symptoms. Another lady I had was this lady who, let's just say, she walked in with a cushion to sit on, a rubber ring, in fact, a rubber ring cushion she had. And she walked in and her husband walked along behind her, and in she came. And obviously she had what we would term a pain in the arse. And when I started to work with her and ask her about, you know, what had happened, when it had started just after her husband had had a heart attack. And he was fine, but it took all of the attention that her family had been given to her and put it all on him. And there was some part of her that was very uncomfortable with not receiving what she needed. So she developed a physical symptom that literally got everybody running around after her. So when I asked her who was the pain, she didn't recognize it at first, but with a little help, she recognized that perhaps it was her husband that she was taking care of. And once we did some forgiveness and she came to peace with that, of course, her symptoms cleared up as well. So I think, you know, we can tell a lot about a person and we can help people a lot with what they might be struggling with. More recently, I had a client come in who talked about an experience where it broke her heart. And she'd come in because she was having heart issues, right? So constantly we're seeing that we may express ourselves or we hear other people expressing themselves, but they'll actually talk about what's really the problem and what created it. So let's explore some of the things that we say. And I'd love to make this interactive. Obviously, we have different expressions that we use over here in America and in England. But so one of the ways that this client talked about the weeping eczema was being so irritated. I'm so irritated with that. Another expression is, it broke my heart. I remember Deepak Chopra talking about a patient of his who had bone cancer, and she would describe her life as she was weary to the bone. So what kind of expressions do we hear on a daily basis? And let's just unmute and let's explore those. Let's hear some of your ideas. What do you hear other people saying, or what expressions are you aware of that are what we might term the language of disease? So I can see you talking, but I can't actually hear you, Dee.
Me again. I've not unmuted. My apologies.
Thank you.
So I guess there's one where people say, I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of everything.
Yes, absolutely.
Or sick to the back teeth or something like that.
I'm sick to the back teeth. So what might somebody develop who is saying that I'm sick of it, or I'm sick to the back teeth?
Gosh, you're asking me directly or just that a general question?
No, it's a general question. Like, let's explore it. What do you think it could be? Love to hear from anybody else.
Sickness. I'm thinking of the expression sick to the back teeth. So it could be something around the mouth and the jaws and anger and tightness.
TMJ and, you know, wisdom teeth issues or toothaches. Definitely. Yeah.
Or even stick to your stomach, maybe, you know, throwing up.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. We talk about being sick of our lives or sick of whatever it is. Yes. You might develop stomach issues. What else? What are some others? That was a great one, Dee. Thank you, Dee and Denise. Anybody else? Karen?
Hi.
Hi.
What about using an animal, saying I'm dog tired?
Yeah. That's interesting one, isn't it? So what's your thought on that?
I don't know.
I'm dog tired. There's definitely a tiredness and a weariness. I mean, even if we say that, I mean, just try that one on for a minute. I'm dog tired. What do you start to notice in your body when you say that?
You feel terrible.
Exactly. You feel terrible. You feel exhausted. Valeria, did you have?
Oh yeah, just say drained, feeling drained, energy drained.
I'm feeling drained. Yeah, when we try that on, what actually happens to our energy systems? Ooh, yeah, it's a heaviness. It's kind of drags us down. These are great. Brilliant. What else? Who else has one? Yes, Nancy.
This is killing me
Yeah. This is
to the
killing
extreme, right?
This is killing me. So when you say that, like there's an impact, killing me, kind of might feel a drain of our life force, or we might develop something more serious. We say it often enough.
Or how about,
Any other?
my aching back, my aching back. Oh,
Aching back. Yeah. Or he doesn't have any backbone. Or I don't have a backbone, right? Definitely going to develop some back issues there. Good one. I tell you one I hear often in the culture over here is I'm dying. I'm dying to do this, or I'm dying not to do that, or which again kind of works alongside what you were saying, Nancy, which is the killing one.
A pain in the neck.
A pain in the neck. We can often talk about people as being a pain in the neck. Or like my client, a pain in the ass. Linda, I can hear you, I can see you talking, but I can't hear you, love.
There, a thorn in my side.
A thorn in my side. That's a good one. So what do you notice when you say that? What do you notice starts?
It hurts. It's just, almost feel it.
Yes. Yes. So you might feel stuck, or you might feel some discomfort inside of your body, or, you know, we could, one that I've heard is crying my eyes out.
Yeah.
Crying my eyes out. Or I can't see that. I can't see my own healing. I can't see that. Or I don't want to hear that. I had a client who had a very negative father. And I might have shared this on another one, but she had this very negative father, and he would constantly berate her. He would typically stand on one side of her, and he would berate her. And she literally didn't want to hear it anymore and developed deafness in her ear so as not to hear it. And it wasn't until we started to heal her relationship with him and his impact on her that her hearing actually came back. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary, because I do believe our bodies have the most incredible healing capacity if we can tune into it, if we can start to pay attention to what energy do I want to create. So if we were to use a different expression rather than I'm tired or I'm exhausted or I'm drained, what might we say instead?
So
Yes.
Maybe I'd like to take a nap.
Yes.
I'd like to rest.
I'd like to
I'd
take
like
a
to
nap.
rest.
I'd like to rest. Yes. Yes, I'd like to rest, or I'd like to replenish. And just if you say that to yourself, I'd like to rest, or I'd like to replenish, what do you notice happens inside of you? Because your internal reality is the best barometer you have.
Feels a lot better.
It does, doesn't it?
Mhm.
So we work hard to create these positive affirmations and things like that. But one of the first things I would encourage you to do, and you to do with your clients, your patients, is to start to look at, well, how do we stop the language that we may be using that might be causing an imbalance, and start being really intentional about how we're saying what we're saying. So hopefully now you will have some of that awareness of your own language and hearing it in others. So when we talk about these things, the words that we say make a huge impact. I came across a study that was done where they studied people who were in pain. And one of the things that they noticed is that people who describe their pain as excruciating or agonizing experienced up to 40% more pain.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Mm.
It's amazing. And when people are talking about their experiences and their experiences of pain, I know most of us on here are empaths and we feel other people's energy. We can experience that as well. We can experience quite a high percentage of the pain that somebody's talking about. So we need to really be protected and keep, when we're listening to our clients, when we're listening to people, our friends, our family, is to be clear that it stays outside of us, that we can have empathy for the experience, but we don't have to have the same experience as them. So listening out for what people are saying to you can make a huge difference. Any questions or thoughts so far? Please ask as we go along. I love this to be interactive, so it can really answer all your questions and you can really make use of what we're talking about today.
I've got a silly question.
Brilliant. I love them because they're not usually silly at all.
So basically what you're saying is we're kind of speaking into existence almost, a development of whatever has started in our bodies. So if we go along to see our doctor, obviously we're describing what is going on. So how do we negate what we've said to the doctor?
That's a really good question. I think we need to speak honestly and with truth. And to ourselves, we also need to describe our own healing process. But I want to talk about doctors in particular, doctors, nurses, people who are in authority. So I'm so glad you brought that up, Alison. Because they will often we give away our power, basically. to the medical profession. So we'll go with a list of our symptoms and we'll list them out and we'll say, and then they'll give us their opinion or they'll give us their diagnosis. Now, do we accept that or not? Because I hear this all the time, especially when I'm working with people with cancer, is doctors will say, well, you'll go through this, but it will probably come back. Or, I mean, they've got better. I'll say this, they've got better, but we've still got a way to go. Or they'll say something like, well, people with your condition usually have 2 to 5 years. Now that is a thought virus, because that goes deeply into your subconscious mind and becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So and I think as healers, that often people that come to see us are in a space of desperation and in need of healing. And we can also play that role. So we need to be really careful about the picture we're painting for them. So if you find yourself in that position where you might have heard something about your health, or, you know, another one might be, well, it's in your genes, because they'll ask you, you know, has your mother had cancer? Has your father had cancer? Have you had this heart disease in your family? Right? All of these things that go back to the implications as to what weaknesses we might have in our systems. Now, if you listen to people like Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton will talk about, and he's an epigeneticist, so he studies cells and watches how cells react. And one of the things he says is that I think it's like 98%, it's a really high percentage of illnesses are not genetic. We have the imprints or the lifestyles or the belief systems that will encourage our bodies to be weaker in some areas than others. But it isn't like we're downloading illness. So I think that's really important for us to take authority of our own healing and authority of our own health by really being mindful of what is it that we're listening to and how we're putting that into our awareness. So one of the things with doctors, most people have, when you're sick and you're in fear, we kind of tend to put our doctors up. So internally, we put them up on a bit of a pedestal. So if you imagine in your mind, what you're actually seeing is the doctor a bit above you. And what you want to do is bring them down so that they're more on a consultant level rather than they've got authority over you. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So first thing is bring them down to eye level. The other thing is they may give us, it was funny, I prepared one of my clients who was going through cancer. And I prepared her with what doctors might say and, you know, stay in your bubble and translate it. And as she was leaving, it was the nurse that got her. That said, oh, my sister had that and she died.
Oh.
Yeah. So this poor woman went into huge amounts of fear and panic. So she had avoided the doctor, but wasn't quite prepared for the nurse that hit her afterwards. And, you know, this woman, well-intentioned, I am sure, and going through her own grief about her own sister, but was not fully present to the impact that she was actually having. So we had to clear it up. And now what I hear you asking is, how do we clear up a thought virus? Is that what you're asking? Of course. Okay, so a thought virus can be cleared quite simply. You've heard recordings played backwards, right? Have you heard, you know, I don't know, as a kid, there was some recordings you could play backwards and you hear people talking backwards like, blah, blah, blah. I've practiced that for years. So you want to take what they're saying and you want to rewind it and then shake your body, because that, when you shake, it lets it out of your body at a cellular level. So rewind whatever it is that's been said to you that isn't for your highest good and your highest ability to heal. Rewind it, shake it out. And you'll do that a couple of times, 2-3 times. And then, what positive message would you have liked that doctor to have given you? Could be, your body is healing right now. Or you have the best chances. Or think about what a miracle your physical body is and all the jobs it does. And how it's working for your ultimate good right now. So we begin to infuse ourselves with positive affirmations of healing and health. I had an experience with my sister, actually, and she'd been out for a run, and she wanted me to help her work on something. So she was coming into the office. So she'd been for a run and she just missed the pavement and twisted her ankle. And she hobbled into the office, I should have said, really, because her ankle was swollen and, you know, it was bruising. And what we did is we rewound the experience several times, cleared the trauma out, and then got her to envisage doing it a different way. And I then did energy healing on her as well. Within the hour, her foot had gone back to its normal size. I mean, it defies what we believe is possible about the body, right? It had gone from this swollen state back to its normal size, and she had one dot of a bruise. And when I asked her about that, she said she wanted to keep it, so she knew something had happened.
Can I ask about the rewind thing?
Please, Tracy.
I'm not sure about how that works, that bit.
Okay, so you hear somebody, a doctor, somebody say to you something about health that isn't useful for you, right? Mm-hmm. You then take that and you just replay it backwards in your mind. So you're rewinding it. Does that make sense? So as though you've got a video and you got it on rewind. You rewind it back.
Okay.
Okay, and then shake and rewind it back and shake.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and you do that 3 or 4 times, and then you play it in the way you would have wanted it, or a message that's useful for you. Does that clarify it, Tracy?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Great. Great. Well, thank you. Keep asking the questions. Thank you for that. Anybody else have questions right now?
I do have a question about the shake part.
Yes.
Do you actually shake it just by 1 minute? Do you recommend it, or just like how long you actually need to shake it out?
That's a great question. Shaking is really, you know, I wouldn't time it by a minute. It's probably about 10-20 seconds in total that you just really shake your physical body. I always say to people, it's like a dog shaking off water. You think about that and just shake your body. And what that does is it helps release trauma or imprints at a cellular level, so that you can then put something more positive in. Good question, Valeria. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
I've got a question I feel nervous to ask about, but I'm always curious when it comes to these dialogues. Is that I definitely believe that we can take more, for want of a better word, responsibility over our health and that dialogue that you're, you know, reframing what we're hearing. I like that a lot. I sometimes worry about how we almost give too much credence to the individual around disease when there is so much disease. You've been using cancer, you know, as an analogy, and I'm thinking they're saying something like 1 in 2 of us, and growing. will experience cancer at some point in our lives. So I wonder where you include the idea that it is an individual's work, obviously, but also that there appears to be much more sickness on a much more global level. Both, you know, say everything from the world is sick with climate change, through to, you know, the food we eat. I think it was Dr. Chris Van Tolkien this week. His new book talks about something like 86% of what we eat from supermarkets will make us sick. It will feed our bodies and make us sick. Do you see what I mean? It's that spectrum of how much do we work with the individual when there's so much going on environmentally as well. That's always my question. Is that,
It's a really great question, and I think we do have to be so careful because so much of the food is so sprayed and processed that we eat now. There is so much more awareness about illness, and I always come back to the wisdom of the person that you're working with, because their wisdom will heal and guide them. And I think part of the issue, and this is my own personal opinion, is that we give too much of our power away and responsibility away. And, you know, when we do that, we have a tendency to look outside of ourselves constantly for the answers. And what I find is that as we empower people and we bring in awareness, we give them responsibility. So I think it's our responsibility to be healthy, and that what we need to know, we will be guided into knowing. So, you know, some people might find one particular diet works for them. I don't believe that there's one diet that works for all of us as every, you know, human. I think it's very individual. It's being able to listen to your body, see how it responds, and keep it healthy, keep it clean. It's our vehicle, right? So I think it has something to do with our responsibility as well. And I would say also, those are thought viruses. Those are beliefs that are put into our culture. How much of those statistics are influenced by the thought viruses that go into our culture?
Can I say that's like some people can spend their whole life smoking, drinking, eating, and, you know, be healthy and live a long life, and yet others can eat healthily and have disease and stuff like that. So that would indicate that those people probably have a positive mindset about what they're doing and not a negative. Do you think that's
absolutely spot on, Tracy? Yes, I do believe that very strongly. I mean, who was that? I think he was English. He was 100 and he ran a marathon. Do you remember that guy? I loved it because he had to stop halfway through and go to the pub for a pint. A pint and a cigarette. So yes, I think our attitude and our beliefs have so much to do with our health and our well-being. And we need to be mindful about what we're letting in. And what we're saying. How do we protect our environment externally and internally? Because if we sit and we worry about these things, what are we doing?
Creating thought viruses.
Exactly. So I want you to, let's try something on for a minute. I know this isn't true, so we're going to cancel it immediately afterwards, but I want you just to try this on. If you say, I have a headache, and just notice what your internal experience of that is. I have a headache. What do you notice? For me, I tend to notice my attention goes to my head. I'm looking for where inside it's out of balance. It's a very internal experience, and it's something that's happening to me. Anybody else have that experience?
My head felt heavy.
Yeah. So try this on. When you say, instead of I have a headache, say my head is aching. What do you notice? For me, when I try that on, my experience internally is that it's something that's moving through me. That there's an end point to it, moving through me. What's your experience?
It made me feel like my head is throbbing. But I like your experience better, Kim. It's moving through me. It's almost out. It's on its way out.
Right.
I'm gonna use that one.
Or I have a cold versus my body is colding. Linguistically, it won't make any sense. So I'm going to say that right up front. It's not proper English. But when you try it on, it's like it becomes a process you're moving through rather than something you're stuck with. So let's cancel the headache, everybody. Let's clear that. Head feels great, energized, clear, refreshed, fabulous. Taking a breath. So when we add ing onto something, it turns it into a process rather than something that's static. So one of the things that I will teach people that have any kind of illness is to make it into a verb instead of it being a sentence. Cancer is a word, not a sentence. So when I'm working with people, I have them say, and some people are linguistically, they want it proper, but I say, for this point, we're going to get your health right first. So I encourage people to say, my body is cancering right now. Because it turns it into a process with an end to it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
What about my body is cancelling cancer?
Oh, I love that. Love that. Love that. But so the point is instead of it being something static and stuck within you, turn it into a process that somebody's going through.
Can you give another example about it?
Sure. Let me see. Well, actually, let's hand over to you. So what might somebody come to you with? What's been some of your experiences?
Personally, I have a backache, or my back is bad. I want to change that to something else.
Yes, we do. So my back is aching would be the first step.
Okay.
Okay. And then the next step is pain is often a signal and a message. When we listen to the message, the signal can stop. It's like if somebody's knocking on your front door, they don't continue to knock when you open the door. You let them in, right? Pain is often a signal in the body that something wants attention. When we sit and we listen to it and we ask it, what are you trying to let me know right now? Then we can listen and then listen to the messages. So my back is aching in this moment. And then what's the message of that? Because we don't want to override our body's message signal. We need to listen to those signals. When we're thirsty, we need to drink water. When we're hungry, we need to eat food, healthy food, vibrant food.
I really like the idea of turning a static state into an ongoing process. I really like the noun to verb thing. And I can see how that would be really helpful. How about if something is really long term though, for like that goes on for 5 or 10 years? And I'm just wondering at some point, I can imagine it might start to feel a bit like denial. And you can't see an end point because there hasn't been one for years. How would you manage that, do you think?
Well, I think, first of all, it's being aware of what it is, being able to hear this. What is it trying to let you know? For example, I was working with someone who was experiencing arthritis. Now, they said their family had arthritis, that, you know, it was in their line, that they were bound to get it. And when we started to work, and I started to work with them on healing, what was the message? Well, it turned out when she got into a relaxed enough state, that what the message was is stop eating bread, right? Stop eating wheat, because she had an allergy to wheat that over here they spray wheat with a lot of insecticides. So a lot of people have a reaction to it. When she listened to the message and stopped eating all wheat, her body started to heal. The pain started to dissolve. So I think when we've got something that's long term, what's the message? What is it that's trying to get through? And then there's there's the lesson of what it's teaching us. I recently, and I have to share this with you. Well, I don't have to, but I'm going to. I recently got a foot injury, right? And I did every single thing I know how to do, and I still had a foot injury. So I went to chiropractors, I went to rolfers, I went to podiatrists, and everybody had a different opinion. When I stopped and listened to it, okay, what is the message? It was slow down. Slow down. Take a breath. And my foot since then has really been healing. And I found a different chiropractor as well. So I think sometimes when we can listen to it, things can align differently. Right? And what is the message that comes through when we have those long-term things? Sometimes it's teaching us, how do we stay in a positive mindset, even with pain? Does that make sense, Sue?
I couldn't unmute quickly enough then. Yes, I think it does make sense. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, I think, to be constantly thinking about an ongoing process rather than a solid state.
Absolutely, absolutely. The other thing I think is that often the belief system can get stuck when we have long-term issues that we're dealing with. And then we start to believe things about our body's capability for healing. And those are the beliefs we need to really challenge. Like, our bodies are capable of incredible healing. Your liver replaces itself every 300 to 500 days, a brand new liver. In the blueprints of your cells, there's all of the information that originally grew the healthy cells. That's all still there. If we focus our attention and we bring healing and we bring light and we start to activate those blueprints for health, we start to heal those things that might have caused the illness or the imbalance in the system. And, you know, energy healing is so wonderful for that because it works on every level. It's a lot less work energetically. We can dissolve a lot of those blocks. But we also then need to give ourselves some positive messages. I trust the divine wisdom of my body for healing. I heard a story about a little boy in Africa. One of my teachers was talking about it. And he said this little boy loved lizards. And he had several pet lizards that he'd captured over the years and played with. But when this little boy had an accident and he lost his little finger, well, he'd seen lizards regrow their fingers over and over again. And that's exactly what he did, which is unbelievable. Unbelievable. So I think we can often really limit what we're capable of. And I think we're right at the boundaries now of what are our physical bodies actually capable of, if we start to unpack and unpick some of the belief limitations that we have about health and healing. So some more affirmations. Let's think of some positive ones. I trust the wisdom of my body to heal. Pain is my body's signal that it's healing. For the heart client, my heart is strong and well. There are many paths to health. It's happening all on its own for my highest good. What are some that you use? Let's share them together.
And Kim, I was going to say, I've been hearing, just to piggyback on what you just said, I've been hearing whenever anything is happening, it's not happening to me, it's happening for me.
Yes.
Because there's always something good that comes out of something that is observed as not good, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's happening for me.
Yeah, I love that. It's happening for me, to me.
Yeah.
That's a great
And
one.
I've also heard that what we focus on will grow. So I've even been told that if I have a pain in my knee, don't focus on the pain in my knee, focus on every other part of my body that feels fantastic. My body feels fantastic. So the other day I started jogging, and so I feel fantastic. And I even told my knee, you're doing great too. You're getting younger. You're feeling more flexible. I was just talking my knee into the fact like, you're going to be fine. Like, you're great.
Yeah, I love it. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And also with knees and things like that, we can, if one of our knees is off balance, you know, honor it, listen to it. What has it got to say? And then bring your attention to the knee that's good.
Right.
And just get the knee that's good to send the message of how to be good to the other knee.
Beautiful.
It's all connected to you and through you. So your words make a difference to your well-being. Be clear on what, number one, you're telling yourself. If it's negative and limiting, stop it. I now will literally stop and turn around and say, stop it, if I'm getting some of those negative messages. And then invite in those messages that inspire you, that allow you to really live fully in your light, to really shine it on this planet. Because it's time, we're all coming together, we're all starting to wake up in our own way. And waking up the wisdom of our own consciousness, which of course is in our being and in our bodies. But any thoughts or questions?
I think sometimes it's difficult to stay in that positive state if you're dealing sometimes with consultants and doctors who might be quite brutal in their delivery of test results and stuff.
Absolutely. And that's why we need each other. That's why, you know, don't go through the experiences by yourself. Find people who can support you, who can be that positive light, who will, you know, help you to shift those thought viruses when you maybe feel tired or weary, or will listen to you from a way that you can empty out what's there and then replace it with something more positive. But it's a good point. And that's where, you know, going to see a healer or people coming to see you as a healer, you can be that for them. You can hold that space for them. Whenever I'm working with anybody, I always see them in their highest, healthy and healed, no matter what they're telling me. And I think it makes a difference. I truly do. But thank you. That's a good point, Alison. Really good. Nancy, you had a question.
Oh, I'm just going through the catalog of my own issues. And one is a bunion. And I'm trying to, like, I have a bunion. My foot is bunioning. I don't know how to change that.
I love it. My foot is bunioning. Yeah, I think it's a good start. Look at the results of that, right? Is it moves you from a place that's serious to a place of humor. Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. And hold the image. What would it look like without a bunion? My foot is healing. What's the message your bunion has for you? Could be changing the way you walk. Walk differently, walk straighter, walk, right?
Okay.
I love that. My foot is bunioning. Oh, brilliant. Anyone else, any thoughts or ideas, or anybody want to ask any questions? Well, I really want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. It's such a privilege to spend this time with you. And this has been an enlightening tour. Obviously, the stuff I could talk about for hours and hours. So I wanted to cram a lot into a small space of time. So I hope you've got some nuggets that you can take away with you that could be useful in your lives and in the lives of the people you touch. Truly privileged. Thank you.
And thank you, Kim, for a very insightful talk this evening. I'm certainly going to leave this meeting thinking about how I articulate conditions when they come up and adding ing to my life.
Good.
Yes. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. And I'll let you know how I get on with that.
Yeah, please. Well. I can't wait to see how the inging goes.
But really, really insightful. And, you know, I've heard in quite a few places, be careful what you say, because it's like you're casting a spell, if you like, on what is going to unfold. And, you know, of course, that would apply to your own health as well. Why wouldn't it? So very thought-provoking. So thank you very much. We'll say good night to those who are watching the recording. And thank you very much for watching the recording and watching us on catch up or watching the programme again if you attended. Thank you so much for your support. We do appreciate it. And it's good night or good morning from myself and Kim.
Thank you.